ABC News correspondent Stephen Portnoy with that report. Coming up, it's back to late summer weather. KSL weather's next. KSL News Time is 7:02.
I've heard it said, Tim, that when you know better, you do better. And I was just not a smart eater for the majority of my life. Maybe I should have known better. I probably should have. But I didn't learn until I did the soda weight loss program. I lost 34 pounds with soda, and it was a combination of them teaching me how to eat smart, what brands to eat, how far apart to eat, how many carbs, that kind of thing. And also the accountability aspect that I would check in with them every week in the beginning, and then every 2 weeks, and now once a month to make sure I stay on top of my weight loss.
I think everybody knows that sugar's not the greatest for you in large quantities, but we're learning now that a lot of the sweeteners to replace the sugar can also be a problem when you're trying to lose weight. So the education process, you're right, that soda puts you through and really teaches you how to look at food differently is amazing for everybody. And my daughter lost 42 pounds. They can help you too. Just go to sodaweightloss.com. It's spelled SOTA. Think Tim and Amanda. Soda Weight Loss is state-of-the-art.
Made to shine. Real stories from Shane Company customers.
I was 20 years old, stationed in Hawaii, and 2 weeks before I was deployed, I met the love of my life. The second I returned, I bought a cheap ring at the Base Exchange and proposed. 15 years later, I went to Shane Company and got her a one-of-a-kind ring with a pear-shaped diamond. It's the ring she deserves.
Shine forever with Shane Company's hand-selected diamonds, as unique as your love story. Shane Company, fine jewelry since 1929.
Sometimes I just cannot believe all the storms we've gone through here.
I can only hope that we'll be able to leave this house to you one day, baby. You're our legacy.
Planning for these disasters will make sure we're safe, and is the best way to protect that legacy. You know what? We should make an emergency communication plan. That way we're ready this year. At my dorm, we have emergency kits for earthquakes and wildfires, but I'm sure there's something more local I can send you with a link.
Okay.
Smart.
Protect your legacy. Visit ready.gov/plan for the tools and tips you need to start your emergency preparedness plan today. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Over the years, you've brought them into your home. You were prescribed opioids after the C-section and after Dad's back injury. They helped when you were in pain, and you held on to them just in case. But did you know holding on to unused opioids puts your family at risk? Trouble with opioids can start at home with unused medicines such as pills, patches, and syrups. You can remove the risk and protect your family. Find out how at www.fda.gov/drug disposal.
We have enough people running around Broadcast House at 4 in the morning to field a football team.
Producers, reporters, the traffic team, and us.
This is Tim and Amanda.
Join us each morning from 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Granite Credit Union's new Dividend Plus checking account. The only problem? It's a slight problem. Southbound I-15, Draper all the way down to the Bangor Highway. Other than that, the Valley freeways look great. Keep up the good work. Do you want a heating and air company which uses third-party verification over their work? And that's one of the highest rated on both Google and Yelp? Then call At Your Service Pros, 801-YOUR-PRO. KSL weather, we saw fall-like temperatures today, and a drying and warming trend sets up for the rest of the week. Highs will be in the 80s through Sunday with a 0% chance of rain. Right now it's sunny and 75 degrees. KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and KSLNewsRadio.com. Your all-day companion for news.
KSL at Night. Some of Utah's top political specialists join a roundtable on the day's biggest stories. KSL is at 102.7 FM and on every smart speaker when you say play KSL News Radio.
All right, welcome to KSL at Night. This is an exciting night. A lot of news going on. We will have some initial returns here in about an hour, but this is Derek Brown, one of your co-hosts. We have two other co-hosts tonight. So we've got Leah Murray.
I'm your favorite, though, Derek.
The favorite. Right? And then, well, and I guess that only leaves one who was the less than favorite. She's taken the favorite, the favorite spot. And so we've got Mara Carabello, who's also with the Exoro group here tonight. And boy, there's a lot going on. And
It's so exciting.
Leah seems to think that the primary race we're looking at is what?
I'm not. Wait. Oh, right. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm like totally missed your cue. I feel, as someone who lives in Ogden, we should be chatting a little bit about the Ogden mayoral race. And I've been trying to get you guys to agree with me for, I don't know, my whole life.
Exactly. And that's about as much as we'll be talking about Ogden. But so for those of you who have hopefully turned in your ballots, we've got 8 o'clock will be the first drop of numbers. And what makes this so interesting is the fact that we have just a number of undecideds that are so large. I mean, Mara, have you ever seen a race where you get right to the end like we have right now, and the number of undecideds is in the still roughly 50%?
Yeah, it's interesting. So we have one recent poll within 3 weeks that specifically looked at the second congressional race, which is the exciting race of the night because it's a special election. And it's late breaking. So what does that mean to us, right? I mean, it means probably that people are still saying, I don't know enough to vote yet. I don't know enough to vote. They have 3 choices, Becky Edwards, Celeste Malloy, and Bruce Huff. In this, 2 of those, Celeste Malloy and Bruce Huff, haven't run for office before. They've been active either as a congressional staffer or within the Utah Republican Party, but the voters may not have had the chance to vote for them. One, Becky Edwards, has been elected before, but it is late breaking. It does reflect a little bit of the last congressional special election we had, which was when Jason Chaffetz left and we were looking to replace his seat. It ended up being John Curtis, who is still one of our members of Congress. But it looks like that. It was about 50%, just under 50%, who are also undecided in that special election.
Don't you think that's because a little bit it happens so quickly? Does that make sense? And like the normal, I think we were talking off the air, Mara, right? You were talking much more expertly than I can talk about this. But your normal campaign ground game is not really open to you. So maybe it's the case that most of our voters are not getting, right, like that personal touch, or they didn't get a postcard, or they didn't get a flyer because this campaign happened so quickly.
Well, and that's the issue you mentioned in terms of having a sort of a campaign team in place that I think might give a natural advantage to Becky Edwards, because she's done this before. It was basically just firing up the machine that she already had built in the last couple of years.
Here's what is cool about that, though. I think all of us, when we look at national politics, sometimes we go, this is the same people, right? Did they just reshuffle the deck and give us the same people? One of the things that's really cool about this are there are a lot of new names in this Republican primary. I'm starting from the very beginning. Most of them got eliminated somewhere along the way through the process. But I just want to applaud all those people who threw their hat in the ring. It's a big deal to put yourself out there, particularly in the time of social media, where, let's face it, we all are a little snarky sometimes. Mm-hmm. But you've got these candidates who are well qualified. The time and attention it takes away from your family life and career. I was excited to see so many unknowns. But, Derek, the reality of politics is what you said. It's really sometimes about familiarity.
Particularly when you have a race with such a short fuse as we have here. And so, I mean, we've only got, a matter of weeks. And the reality is, as much as tonight is election night, or today is election day, so to speak, this has really been election month, right? Because you have people who have had their ballots cast for upwards of, 4 weeks now? I mean, the way that we campaign here in Utah now as candidates is very different than what it was 10 years ago, right? Because no longer do you have like an early voting booth and then election day. You've got an entire month where people are, you're trying to encourage them to take that ballot off of their kitchen counter.
But don't you think a little bit? Yeah, but I wonder a little bit if in a situation where you've got 47% of the people not sure, and we're still talking about congressional district 2, but I'm going to say I think it's true for other mayoral primaries that are happening, or other city council primaries that are happening. If I'm not sure, then I wonder if I wait to the last minute, if that makes sense. So I turned my ballot in today. I don't know how you guys voted, but so a little bit, because it took me, I'm not in CD2, but it took me a long time to figure out how to vote in the Ogden mayoral race. Anyway, so I wonder a little bit, Derek, if actually we'll see a lot of ballots being dropped today, as a result of that.
We have seen that. We pulled the numbers, I think, on KSL at night last week, and they were they were in the teens we're seeing numbers today. If you look at Lindsay Arendt, who's been out and about all day, she was showing in the 20s and 30s at 4 p.m. We're going to update those turnout numbers soon, but today you are seeing much more. Usually conventional wisdom would be a third of us turn them in within, we're front row students. We turn them in 3 or 4 days. But Dalia, to your point, you're pretty decided. Like you've essentially just been waiting for your ballot. And then about a third do it in the middle and about a third do it late. For unknowns or local elections, it's sitting there and you keep thinking, I need to do some more research, or maybe I'll find out more, or maybe something will happen. I do think it's absolutely true that the less familiar we are, the longer we wait to place our ballots.
And I think for the municipal elections, right? And also, actually, I would say this is true for congressional district too. You don't have a party queue. Right. So for the municipal elections, I can't just go, well, this is my team, right? So I'll just pick whoever my team picked. And in the Republican primary, they're all on your team, right? So you're trying to pick, right? So a little bit, it's absent the cues we normally use to help us figure out how we're going to vote.
It takes a little bit more work.
Right.
And so for someone who, doesn't necessarily have that team in place, for instance, we're going to have Bruce Huff,
right,
who's joined us. And Bruce is someone who is well known among Republicans, but he's never run for this kind of an office before. And so he's someone who, case in point, has been building this team. Becky's sort of had this team ready to go. Bruce had to sort of build it on a moment's notice. So did Celeste. And so we'll see kind of how this turns out. But we'll get to sort of talk with him next to figure out, what is his approach? Because one of the things I find interesting is each of the candidates tried to take kind of a different approach.
Right.
Becky took one approach, Celeste took another. Bruce, I think, tried to take the best of both of those approaches. And if he comes up the winner, I think then, we'll be able to look back and go, that was the answer.
I think that is true. I think you could choose what appears to win the day, right? Because they did all take slightly different approaches to their election.
Exactly. And so we're going to find out. So what we've got tonight, this will be fun. We'll be doing coverage live all night on KSL. We'll be talking so Bruce Huff will be next. We'll have our Lieutenant Governor, Deidre Henderson, that will join us. We will have our indomitable Lindsay Aretz, who I spoke with her not long ago, and she's actually at the Salt Lake County Ballot Counting Center, and she's been doing some really solid research and reporting in terms of, what the turnout is. And it looks pretty low so far. So
it looks pretty low. So I'm just going to give a shout out. It's 7:15.
Get out there.
You have 45 minutes.
Right.
So we looked it up. There's about 34 races going on. If you don't know if you have a race, go to voteutah.gov, utah.vote.gov. And what we do know is every single vote is going to count this year, both for municipal, but actually this congressional district. If you have, if you've been one of those voters that just like, I don't want to, it doesn't matter. It matters. So really today, you've got 45 minutes left, and your vote will really tip the scales a little bit on who the next member of Congress or council person or mayor.
Especially in some of these smaller races.
For sure.
For instance, I have a race, and I live in Cottonwood Heights, and we've got a race for one of the small districts, but there'll be a couple hundred votes cast. So every little vote will make a huge difference. So, all right, so stay with us as we have continued election coverage here at KSL. Next up, we'll be speaking to 2nd Congressional candidate Bruce Huff. So stay with us.
Did you know Utah has just one all-new station in the morning?
It's this one, weekday mornings between 5 and 9.
Start your days with us. We're Tim Hughes and Amanda Dixon.
Your morning companions for news. When the day's almost done.
Another day, another dollar.
There's the drive home. Put Jeff Kaplan in the passenger seat.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, thanks. You're in my car.
Yep, let me catch you up.
Jeff has traffic and weather together every 10 minutes on the 9s, breaking stories, and his signature minute of news. It's like Jeff's there just for you.
This is a little awkward.
Isn't it great?
Jeff Kaplan's Afternoon News, 3 to 7 on KSL News Radio.
Amanda, we have a lot of responsibilities as parents. You feel obligated to teach your kids many things, if not all things in life sometimes, which is a little overwhelming. but it's surprising how little we talk to our kids about money.
Financial responsibility.
Yeah.
That's why I'm so excited to tell you about what UCCU is doing, Utah Community Credit Union. As part of their mobile banking, they now have this thing called Learn and Earn.
Learn and Earn breaks down financial topics into fun, bite-sized educational games like quizzes and trivia. And every time anybody in the family completes a topic, you earn points that can accrue and you can redeem for gift cards from places like Amazon, Apple, Walmart, and others.
So literally, they are paying you to learn about financial responsibility.
It really is a great way to go, and it's fun for the whole family. Learn and Earn is part of UCCU's award-winning Be Money Smart youth banking program that helps kids, teens, and parents have fun while learning and becoming financially literate together.
UCCU Mobile Banking now presents Learn and Earn. UCCU, you're going to love where you bank.
I've worked hard to get where I am. I don't cut corners. I see opportunity and make the most of it. And I'm celebrating that success in style by heading to Jerry Seiner Cadillac to get the car I've been working for. They have new XT4, 5, and 6 models in stock and the area's largest selection of certified pre-owned vehicles. I've put in the work and I've earned the luxury that only comes with a Cadillac. If you have too, then it's time to visit Jerry Seiner and experience the Seiner difference.
Imagine how inconvenient your life would be without power. No lights, no refrigeration, no heating or cooling, and no electronics. But with a Generac home standby generator, you'll have the power when you need it most. Generac generators automatically provide backup after sensing a power outage, so your life goes on uninterrupted. Schedule a free quote today with Genco Generators, your premier Generac service dealer in Utah. Call 801-295-0872 or online at gencogenerators.net.
September means it's time for Any Hour Services free furnace sale. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and as summer comes to a close and falls right around the corner, the weather gets, well, perfect. And when the weather's perfect, people need a little extra incentive to replace their heating and cooling system. That's where Any Hour Services free furnace sale comes in. For the month of September, when you have Any Hour Services install a new air conditioner, we'll give you a new furnace for just the cost to install it. About $400. The furnace is free, you just pay the labor. And there's no catch. There's no raising the price on the air conditioner first. There's no making you buy the most expensive air conditioner to qualify. There's none of that. There's just a desire to keep our technicians working while the weather's mild and a genuine appreciation of you for helping us keep them busy. So if you've been thinking about replacing your old furnace and air conditioner and want to know exactly how much you can save during our free furnace sale, call Any Hour Services today and schedule a free estimate. Google Any Hour Services or schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
The story of the nurse and the foot pain that nearly brought him down.
I feel like I'm giving people their lives back.
Robert lived to take care of his patients, but he couldn't do it unless he took care of his foot pain.
I have plantar fasciitis. It'll almost put you on your knees. That's how much it hurts.
His own recovery started when he got fitted for arch supports at the Good Feet store.
Now that I'm pain free, I can make these people feel better.
Can't beat that. Stop by or schedule your free fitting at goodfeet.com. A story of first downs and second chances. Meet former pro football player Michael Robinson.
I wanted to keep playing, but my feet hurt.
And all those big league experts couldn't help?
You have access to anything, but none of it worked.
Finally, he got fitted with Good Feet arch supports.
Let me tell you something. They work.
Now, he recommends Good Feet to
anybody. If you move, go to the Good Feet store.
Stop by the Good Feet store in Farmington, Riverton, or Sandy for a free fitting. Call 1-800-NEW-FEET or visit mygoodfeet.com.
Visit Serenoni Luxury Blanket Warehouse Sale, Wednesday, September 6th at Orion Event Center in Linden. Save on the world's softest blankets for babies to adults. Get huge discounts on the best gifts ever.
KSL at night.
Welcome back to KSL at Night. We have special live coverage because it is Election Day. Even though it is September 5th, it's a special election as well as a really important municipal primary election. And Leah Murray, Derek Brown, and I'm Mara Carabello, and all three of us are here tonight. And on KSL, we are the poll closes in 40 minutes, so you have a second to vote. But, stay with us tonight because we will be updating as soon as they call it a dump, right? As soon as the first ballot dump happens at 8 o'clock, we'll be updating you there. And we're going to be having 3-team coverage as well as the reporters who are out and about all night tonight, keeping you up to date. The hottest race, I think we all agree, has been the special congressional districts race. That's Congressional District 2. Chris Stewart stepped down with family health reasons, which created this really compressed schedule. It's been a battle. It started out with a huge number. We've narrowed it down. This is the Republican primary. We've narrowed it down to 3 candidates. Tonight, we are super lucky because we're about to interview one of them tonight. So I'm going to introduce who we have. We have Bruce Huff on the air with us, and he was one of those who gained the ballot by getting signatures, which means he was already out and about getting people's signatures to get on the ballot, and then he's been running hard. Bruce, thanks for joining us tonight.
Great to be here with you.
So tell us, before it's finally the night, it's election night. What has been the biggest surprise as you've been campaigning? What's like a terrific lesson learned that you'll take with you?
Well, I think I walked into this with my eyes pretty well open as to the possibilities and such, but it really kind of harkened back to my days as state party chairman. Just how wonderful it is to be in the communities and in the counties with people at the grassroots level. It is. It really reminded me how much I enjoy that part of the process, and I just think the opportunity to listen to people's concerns, to talk about the differences that we may have, because we're never going to agree with everybody 100% of the time, even if you're supporting them. And so it's just great to sort of understand the dynamic of how interested people are in their future and the future of their children and their grandchildren.
So, Bruce, talk to me. I love that. You're out and about, and I do agree with you that that's one of the most powerful things about our republic, right, is what elections can do in terms of educating voters and getting feedback. What has been your biggest takeaways? Like, when you're out and about, what are you hearing from people? What are their biggest concerns?
Well, I think one of the great concerns is that they're just not being listened to, that the federal government is so far away, so disconnected from what really happens in our state, in our communities, that we really need to get back to the states really retaking their power. I mean, constitutionally, we just have to remember that the federal government's a construct of the states, not the other way around. And if you look at the 9th, 10th, and 14th Amendments, we talk about enumeration of powers. And if we'll get back to some of those fundamentals, and it's going to be a hard stroke to get there, but if we just start making some incremental changes to where we really, put funding back into states and let the states and local school districts and parents really work with how those funds ought to be spent, rather than them being administered and the costs of administration rubbed off at the federal level. So what I hear from people is, look, why are we having inflation? What things were going really well, and now all of a sudden we have hyperinflation in some cases. Our energy has doubled, almost 2.5 times what it was just a few years ago. We become energy dependent. We have inflation that is triple what it was. All these things have occurred because of the way our country is being led. And many of those things that happened, like energy independence, literally were done by executive order by the president. And you have to look at that and say, that's just not the way we're supposed to be working. So people are frustrated. They're frustrated that things are happening that they have no control over. And, they all know that as a congressman, I'll be one of 435, right, in the House. But, there is that hope, that glint of hope that maybe someone can take a little bit of action that will move things in the right direction or slow the growth of government down. Because, inflation's here in many ways because of things like the Inflation Reduction Act, which is sort of an oxymoron title, because it literally is spending $3.9 trillion more in the economy, and that's why we have inflation. We've printed too much money, we're spending too much money, and it creates this inflationary spiral that we're in. It's too many dollars chasing too few goods, and that's exactly what we've done.
So for those of you just joining us, we're talking to 2nd Congressional District candidate Bruce Huff. And Bruce, as we just mentioned right as you got on, there's about 35 minutes left for people to drop off ballots. So in the remaining time that we have, for those who you haven't had a chance to speak with, Give us your last pitch. What's your last plug in the remaining moments of this campaign?
Well, I mean, one of the things that we've talked about is how important voting is. And, one of the things that really changed the dynamic of this race was the comparison between candidates on their voting. We had one who, if you like what Biden's done, then you probably would want to support her. Another one who didn't vote, and if you think that's a good way to act as a citizen, then you would vote for her. But this is a very important thing. We have people who have literally given their lives for this right and privilege to vote. So I don't really. I mean, I care, but the most important thing, if you've got 30 minutes left to go vote and you haven't voted yet and you're within proximity of your balloting location, please go. Duty that is a sacred duty of every citizen. And, the other differentiation that I bring to this race is I'm the only one with private sector experience. I've created jobs in this state. I know what a balance sheet and a budget looks like, and I would really, really like to see us get back to doing budgets in Congress. It's so important, and stop these continuing resolutions. So there's some other areas here that really relate to my experience, and I would even say wisdom over my life's experience. I mean, there's things that I have lived through that really inform how I will serve the people of the 2nd District. With 10 children and 22 grandchildren, as I've mentioned, our recognition that there's $32 trillion in debt was one of the main motivating factors for me even getting in this race.
Candidate Bruce Huff, 2nd Congressional District. It's the hottest race in town, and we appreciate you taking some time to join us tonight on KSL at Night.
You bet. Good night.
So it's interesting, like you said, Derek, half an hour left, and they are still going strong and hard. This is usually a day that is very busy for candidates. They're still calling people, dialing people. And as we've mentioned, with voter turnout expected to be as low as the low 40s, getting your people out is the ballgame.
It's going to be the difference. Absolutely. No, and I was thinking how the smaller the numbers, the more, the way you said that earlier, Mara, right? The smaller the numbers, the more important, right? And the thing I would also argue for our municipal elections, that's actually where it matters.
Yeah,
not that Congress doesn't matter, but don't get me right. Like in these small cities, in our cities, where decisions are made about, like who fills the pothole, right? Like all those conversations that actually really affect your life on the day-to-day, so important.
So great example is in your hometown. Ogden has a hot mayor's race and 2 council races.
That's right.
I mean, they are, it's the, what did we decide? 8th largest city in the state.
Yeah.
But it also guides an entire metro region. And if y'all live in the Ogden area, actually Hooper, a lot of races in
up in
north
Weber
there.
County.
Yeah.
And everyone's got to be voting. Get your ballot in.
And those races, that's where the rubber meets the road. I remember talking to my mayor once a number of years ago, and he made the comment to me. He said, when you're the mayor, you can't hide.
That's right.
Everybody knows who you are. And he goes, I literally cannot so much as go to the grocery store without someone asking me about snow being shoveled on their street or that kind of thing. Because
and
that's
those conversations
where
can impact it, right? You can
Absolutely.
You can reach out and impact those folks. So yeah, we're gonna keep following the 2nd Congressional as well as the others. Stay tuned with us. KSL at Night. Next, we have the State Elections Director.
It's 7:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Mark Jackson. KSL's top story, of course, it's politics on KSL News Radio. Election day, and people have been dropping off ballots across the 2nd Congressional District in the Republican primary. KSL News Radio's Amy Kobabe has been talking today to voters and reports from Davis County.
Republicans in the 2nd Congressional District have had ballots for 2 weeks, but most people who I've talked to today at the drop boxes say they actually made up their minds today.
We talk it over and make our decisions and go with our gut.
I think we had some pretty good choices, actually, so I won't complain.
I may be disappointed, but I won't complain.
I've been to a handful of drop boxes. There are a steady stream of drivers and people walking up. So even though it seems like people have put it off to the last minute, several have told me that this is just an important step forward in this process. Amy Kobabe, KSL News Radio.
Well, as Mitt Romney decides whether to run for re-election next year, the senator is suddenly sitting pretty. According to the latest Deseret News Hinckley Institute poll, Romney's approval numbers have jumped dramatically over the last few months. His approval rating was 40% in May. It's jumped to 56% last month. Romney says he'll decide whether to run again this fall. And then our top national story is new information learned today on Senator Mitch McConnell's health after the Republican minority leader froze in front of reporters on 2 separate occasions, appearing unable to speak for a time.
Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell largely brushing off that episode that he suffered last week back home in Kentucky. The Capitol physician releasing a letter saying McConnell did not suffer a stroke, seizure, or any type of movement disorder like Parkinson's disease. But that letter was vague. It provided no further explanation as to why the 81-year-old Republican leader appeared to freeze twice in just over a month. We know McConnell suffered a concussion from a fall back in March.
CBC's Rachel Scott reporting. And coming up, the weather is warming up a bit this week. We will get your full forecast updated next. KSL News Time, 7:32.
Pelvic congestion syndrome, or pelvic venous congestion, is an important but often overlooked cause of chronic pelvic pain. It's estimated that up to 30% of patients with chronic pelvic pain may actually suffer from a symptomatic pelvic venous disorder. IVC, the leading interventional vascular and vein center in Utah for over 15 years, is here to help. Typical symptoms of pelvic venous congestion include dull achiness and heaviness in the pelvis, often made worse by prolonged standing. Well, it can often be successfully treated with a minimally invasive procedure called embolization. Pelvic venous embolization requires little or no downtime and is performed in an outpatient setting. Nearly 85% of women treated experience significant relief of their symptoms. If you suffer from the symptoms of pelvic venous congestion, let the experts at IVC help. Visit ivein.com for more or call 801-379-6700 today. As IVC has been saying for years, life starts when the pain stops.
Hey man, looking good. It's Stitch Fix. I'd like to thank my stylist for making me look so great. They always get my fit just right. They send clothes that work for me and my budget. They even found me my favorite pair of jeans. I'd like to thank Stitch Fix because let's get real, I couldn't make this style happen on my own. They just make everything so easy. So thank you, Stitch Fix. They just get me, and they'll get you too. Stitch Fix. Take your style quiz today at StitchFix.com.
Experience over 80 original art pieces from prominent local to emerging artists amidst a backdrop of natural beauty. Art at the Park, September 8th and 9th at This Is the Place Heritage Park.
Victor deployed for the first time to Afghanistan in 2003. At 4 in the morning, my phone rang. They said, "I regret to inform you that your husband was wounded in action." Victor sustained a moderate traumatic brain injury. I was doing school full-time, and I was also then caring for Victor. One of the most important elements of caregiving is taking care of yourself. I just didn't want to forget that I also had goals and that I also had a life. What I did is I challenged Victor to meet me halfway. There are almost 6 million military and veteran caregivers across the nation. We have our own journey, and we can fulfill that journey at the same time that we are helping our loved one.
Visit aarp.org/caregiving for a free military veterans guide to navigate your caregiving journey and better care for your loved one and yourself. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Start your days with knowledgeable, friendly voices telling you about the latest news and weather out there.
Hi, this is Tim Hughes and Amanda Dixon
In the business of waking you up each morning from 5 to 9.
on KSL News Radio.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Granite Credit Union's new Dividend Plus checking account. Well, it looks like we have a wreck. It does not look like there's any delays, but it is off on a curve as you exit on northbound I-15 to Pioneer Crossing, American Fork. But again, I don't see any backups in Utah County. Found your dream house, but not your dream rate? Make your purchase with a home loan from Cypress Credit Union. Refinance within 12 months of rates drop, and we'll take care of the refinancing fees. Valley weather, not much to the weather either tonight because it has been fairly nice, but a little on the warm side. We have really got temperatures to increase this week. Go 85 tomorrow, up to near 90 on Friday. We're back down into the mid to upper 80s for the weekend. Saturday, Sunday, average lows stay in the 60s. We're 77 right now, partly cloudy. It's 7:35 at KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and KSLNewsRadio.com. Your all-day companion for news.
KSL at night.
And welcome back to KSL at Night. You're here with me, Leah Murray, alongside my good friends Derek Brown and Mara Carabello for, I think, the best 2 hours of radio you possibly could be listening to. And the coolest thing is we're live tonight. Usually we're pre-recorded, but here we are doing this live. I love it. It's election night, which is so exciting. And for the record, it's 7:36. You have got 25 minutes. If that ballot is still on your kitchen counter,
It's not too late.
It's not too late. Find a ballot drop box somewhere in your county. Get that ballot in. We have got with us one of my favorite people. So Mara and Derek, I just need you to know I have like deep tracks with this person we're bringing in, Ryan Cowley, who is our state elections director. Ryan, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
And Ryan, how many times have I asked you to come on KSL and you're never available when I'm hosting? So I just got to razz you a little bit here. But I'm glad you're here tonight on election night.
Me too. It's good to be here. It's been a few 5 or 6 times that you've asked me to be here, so I'm glad we can make it work.
That's right.
And can I add that Ryan took this position a couple of years ago, and the individual that he replaced, there was an article about that person who had served in this position, and it said the most important person in Utah politics that you've never heard of. And so I think that's one way to introduce Ryan, is he's probably the most influential person in terms of what's going on in the elections in Utah that no one's probably ever heard of before. So that's why I like that we can have him here and really pick his brain.
So Ryan, talk to me a little bit. So I'm just going to tell listeners, I feel like it's always a good time to educate our voters. So I was asking you earlier if you had results out of Weber County, and you said no because the counties do that. So real quick, take like 30 seconds, do a fast civics lesson. What is this job of the state in an election like this tonight? What are the counties doing? Like, where is that division of labor?
Yeah, so it's really pretty simple. We have 29 county clerks that run all of the elections. This year they're running all of the municipal elections. So they count all the ballots, they mail you the ballots, all of that kind of stuff. And then they compile the results locally, and then they upload those for Congressional District 2, where that's a federal race. We do state and federal races on our website. And then the clerks will post the races for the municipal elections on their own websites. So really, they do the work. We have kind of a supervisory oversight role in elections.
So Ryan, real fast, because we only got a minute left with you, can you tell us what the voter turnout looks like tonight? Like, what are y'all seeing across the state?
Yeah, so right now we're at about 33%. Now, historically, we have got a lot of ballots that are dropped off on Election Day. Those still have to be processed. They go through the same rigorous process where every signature is verified and all of that. So those will be coming in the next few days. So we'll probably end up maybe 45%, somewhere around there would be my guess.
All right, and tell me one more thing, Ryan. Have there been any, like hiccups or mistakes, or is everything running super smoothly, at least from what you can tell?
Yeah, there's always little things that clerks deal with, and they're great problem solvers, and they've worked through that. Overall, things have gone really, really well. One thing that's interesting with this election is I actually started down in Garfield County this morning, and we visited Garfield, Paiute, Sevier, Sanpete, Juab, Utah, and they're all doing an amazing job, working hard. And so it's been really fun today to kind of go in and see the clerks in action doing their job, and they're great at it.
So this is, I know we're running a little short on time, but I've always been curious, how different do you find each 29 of the clerks? So when you walk into their counting centers, are they very similar? Do they reflect the county and the population? How different are the different clerks' offices?
Yeah, they really reflect the population and things like that. And that's one of the neat things about clerks is they're independently elected by the people in their county. And you go to Utah County, for example, they've got a lot of high-tech equipment. They have a machine that'll process ballots, 17,000 ballots per hour, and then you go to the smaller counties and they really do, a very manual hand scanning process. Paiute County, for example, had 350 ballots, so they don't need the high-tech, fast equipment. They pretty much do a lot more manual. But that's one of the great things with having clerks with local. They all follow the same laws, but they're able to mold those processes around the citizens that they serve.
And so, Ryan, what do you anticipate the overall turnout is going to be here statewide because that has such a huge impact on the outcome? What do you think it's going to be? And maybe compare that a little bit in the last second here. We only got a few seconds, but compare that with previous races.
Yeah, so in CD2, I would guess probably around 45%. It's really hard to compare because we've never really had an election with this kind of timing, with it being right by Labor Day, with it being a congressional replacement. So it's really hard to compare it with other elections. In the municipal races, it'll be quite a bit lower, which is unfortunate because those races really impact people probably more than a congressional or even a presidential race does.
All right, Ryan Cowley, State Elections Director, thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So my understanding is someone is calling in live. Mara's looking at me. So
okay, so
introduce our
tonight,
next guest.
yeah, the biggest race in town right now is the 2nd Congressional District. It's a busy race. It's a special race, so it's high stakes with a compressed timeline. We talked to Bruce Huff earlier, and we are lucky tonight to have the second candidate on with us, which is Becky Edwards. So, Becky, thanks so much for taking a minute to join us.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you.
So you've had a super busy day. You're going down to the last wire, and you have some experience in both state elections and federal elections. What's today been like, and how is this race different than others you've experienced?
I think that the thing that I've always focused on as a candidate has been going down to the absolute last minute with phone calls and honk and waves and just really encouraging people to get out and vote. And a lot of folks, timing of this race is a little bit funky at the end of the summer, day after Labor Day. And people have intention to participate and to be civically engaged, but sometimes, they just forget. So being able to remind people is our number one focus day of election.
And so on that note, we were just saying that we have Becky Edwards, for those of you just tuning in, one of the 2nd congressional candidates. There's 18 minutes before the polls close. Right. So on that note, Becky, what is your last plug here to voters with only 18 minutes before their ballots no longer are counted?
Well, I would say quickly get on vote.utah.gov, determine where your polling location is, hop in the car, and immediately go there. It's so important that every single person has their voice heard through voting. It's a tremendous privilege. And, of course, as a candidate, I want to make sure that people give me and my vision a look. We've had such support from across the district. It's been very, very affirming to folks who want to see a proven leader with experience on the state level take a little bit more of what I like to call the Utah way back to Washington, D.C. So we'd love to see more of that, and we'd encourage people to put their votes our way.
All right, Becky Edwards, Congressional District 2, candidate for the Republican primary. Thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Absolutely. Thank you for your attention on the race.
Yeah, no, I love the focus of all of our candidates on making sure people are reminded to vote, making sure that people are getting out there. And she's not wrong right there. Vote.utah.gov. Make sure you get there. If you don't know where to go, you've got 17 minutes you can get there.
So this congressional district is particularly interesting because it takes up 11 of our 29 counties. So again, we've said this, it spans from, the middle, Davis County, all the way down to Washington County. It covers both some urban areas and some rural areas. Although I say that, I'm going to point out something for me that's semantic. When we say rural in Utah, I think we're really talking about the spirit of Utah, because I will tell you, Washington County, you're not rural. I mean, y'all have a lot of people moving in, and you are a busy little metropolitan
There are
area.
a few people maybe a little angry about that because they may still think they're rural.
I'm the spirit of the rural. I do get, but man, we are becoming. We have several big metro areas.
Well, and in fact, I've seen some stats where we are one of the most urban states in the country, because something like 85% of Utahns live in a large city or along the Wasatch Front.
That's right. So on those fighting words, Mara Carabello, that Washington County maybe is not as rural as it thinks it is. Next up on KSL at Night, our own Lindsay Aerts has been spending the day at Ballot counting centers. I've been watching her on X. Maybe you have been too. And we'll be chatting with her and her day after the break.
Hi, it's Tim Hughes and Amanda Dixon.
Why should you start your day with us?
We have decades of news experience between us.
And we take your trust seriously.
Come here for news tomorrow, 5 to 9.
On KSL.
What happens if you become too ill to make medical decisions on your own? Set aside time to designate a healthcare representative who can make future medical decisions for you should you become incapacitated. Put those wishes in writing by creating an advance directive. You can find advance directive forms in English and in Spanish at intermountainhealth.org/advance directives or in the Intermountain Patient Portal, My Health Plus, or on the Utah Council on Aging website. Brought to you by Intermountain Health and KSL News Radio.
Attention smart homeowners. You don't have to fall for flashy promises and companies that don't even prove their work. At Your Service Pros uses third-party verification software called MeasureQuick to ensure your new HVAC system is installed correctly. This ultimate game changer in the HVAC industry lets you, the homeowner, have proof of how your system was installed. At Your Service Pros utilizes our Bluetooth tools to upload all of your system's information into MeasureQuick. We rely on data-driven insights to properly commission, optimize, and fine-tune your HVAC system for peak performance, improving your family's comfort, lowering your utility bills, and extending the life of your HVAC system. With rebates and tax credits available totaling more than $7,500 on a dual fuel heating and cooling system, it is now more important than ever that your HVAC system be installed correctly. So call us today at 801-YOUR-PRO. That's 801-YOUR-PRO. Have the peace of mind of saving up to 50% on your new system and knowing it's installed correctly by calling 801-YOUR-PRO.
Made to Shine. Real stories from Shane Company customers.
They were all there. My grandparents, all the cousins. I was the first one in my family to graduate from college. They were so proud. After the ceremony, my mom gave me a necklace with my birthstone. I wear it every day. Sometimes I even think it carries a secret superpower, that when I wear it, everything will be okay.
We carry the widest selection of handcrafted jewelry made to help everybody shine bright. Shane Company, fine jewelry since 1929.
Have you ever noticed that when the afternoon light hits your floors, you can see everything, including dust?
So much dust.
And that poor dust gets kicked up into the air, compromising the quality of air you and your family breathe.
Eesh.
Swiffer Heavy Duty Sweeper is the fast and easy way to clean your floors, with ultra-thick pads that trap and lock dust before it gets in the air. Just a couple minutes a day,
And dust is gone.
Swiffer Heavy Duty Sweeper. Proud partner of the American Lung Association.
Innovation Refunds does not provide tax or legal advice. We work with an independent network of tax professionals and will share information with them to evaluate and process your claims. Terms and conditions apply. Ty is a paid spokesman.
I'm Ty Burrell, actor and small business owner. You can trust Innovation Refunds with your small business's ERC claim because of their SOC 2 Type 1 security compliance. Without this, how can you be sure a company can protect your information? It's not like here on the radio, where all you need to be secure is a censor button. My password to my bank account is Ty's cool password 1. Uh-oh. Luckily, Innovation Refunds is more reliable. Go to innovationrefunds.com or call 1-843-REFUNDS to get started.
Hey guys, if you're a patient at another Wave clinic for ED, Revive will transfer your care for free. And for those that medically qualify, we'll give you 4 Wave treatments for free, plus a 1-month supply of ED medication when you start Wave treatment with us. Our Renaissance Wave therapy is proven, non-invasive, and far more affordable than other Wave clinics. Book your consultation today. Call 801-263-7777. That's 801-263-7777. Or visit ReviveMen'sHealth.com.
Fall in love with the Five Alls Restaurant this autumn season. A Salt Lake City original featuring a cozy atmosphere. Perfect for all your special occasions.
Do you worry about how much someone drinks?
Do you feel angry or depressed most of the time? Do you feel neglected or unloved?
Do you feel you attract people who tend to be compulsive or abusive?
Do you have money problems because of someone else's drinking?
Are you afraid or embarrassed to bring your friends home?
Do you feel that if the drinker loved you, she or he would stop drinking?
If you answered yes to any of these questions, you are not alone.
More than half of all adults have a family history of alcoholism.
Not everyone trapped by alcohol is an alcoholic.
Families and friends are suffering too. Al-Anon and Alateen can help. Call 1-866-200-0223 or visit alanon.org/help.
KSL at night. KSL at night.
All right, welcome back to KSL at Night. This is Election Day, and this is Derek Brown here with my friends and co-hosts Mara Carabello and Liam Murray. And we are broadcasting live, and we're waiting. Well, first of all, I say we're waiting because in 10 minutes, polling closes. So if you have a ballot and you are within 10 minutes of driving distance of a place where you can drop it off, that's right.
Get yourself a snack while you're out, but
do it. You have 10 minutes. And then around 8 o'clock, in about 10 minutes, we expect the first, what we call a data dump, the first group of the first data from county clerks where they give us a sense of, all the ballots they've counted so far. So a lot of you have had ballots for the last, 3 or 4 weeks. They came in the mail. They may have sat there. Maybe you turned them in right when you got it. Maybe you waited a week or two like me. But regardless, they're in. Most of them are now counted. Those who are turning them in today aren't going to be counted. But the big race, of course, is the 2nd Congressional District. And so when we get those numbers here momentarily, this will give us an idea of where things are headed, and particularly with the fascinating number of roughly 50% of voters still undecided statistically.
Right, so let's talk about that. So what we heard last segment was Ryan Cowley, the elections director, telling us we've got a voter turnout at 33%. I think there's a relationship between that number of not being sure and kind of that lower number of turnout, right? But maybe that number increases as, the next 9 minutes winds down and we get people know it's 8 o'clock and they're showing up because they're listening to the show and they're all going to show up and vote. And we'll get a higher voter turnout.
Huge purse. Yeah. So what we're also seeing is if you're one of the many of us who are following Lindsay Ahrens on X, a minute ago she posts live. She is live right now at Becky Edwards headquarters. That's not the only place she's been today. So let's check in with Lindsay Ahrens. Lindsay, what's going on now and what have you seen today?
Hi, guys. Yeah, so I am at the Becky Edwards Returns Watch Party right now, which is in Salt Lake City. And literally the woman just walked in the room and there were tons of cheers. And that's what these parties are often like. I'm sure all three of you have been to a returns party before for your preferred candidates. And these things are really a celebration. They're kind of a closing party for the primary season, win or lose. They're the candidates, obviously the hero. These are their base, their core of supporters, their volunteers, their staff. So Becky just walked in the room and of course she got loud cheers, loud applause. I'll post that on my X Twitter soon, so you can see the moment that happened. But before this, I was in what we call the belly of the beast, in the ballot center at Salt Lake County, just watching some of the sorting of the ballots all before they get tabulated. So I've been all over the place today.
So Lindsay, for those of you, first of all, who don't follow Lindsay, you should follow Lindsay Ahrens on X. And Lindsay, you also posted some numbers about voter turnout, what it looks like. Give us a sense of what we're looking at in terms of overall turnout. Is it high? Is it low? Is it about as expected?
Well, high and low is relative, right, when it comes to this election. Yeah, but the turnout is the turnout. It is right now sitting at about 33%. That was as of 4 o'clock this afternoon. Those are the last numbers that I've received from the state elections office. So sitting around 33% district-wide. Now, sorry, that's not for the municipal races. That is just for the CD2 race. And remember, this is just Republicans who are voting in the CD2 race. But that turnout sitting at about 33%. Now, Piute County is leading the way in terms of county with turnouts. And then bringing up the rear is Juab County with the lowest turnout of the 13 counties that are in the district. In there, you've got Davis County, Salt Lake, and Washington, all kind of middle of the pack in terms of turnout. And we're just really watching for this rural versus urban vote. This is one of kind of the storylines of this race has been, Becky Edwards with strong support along the Wasatch Front, Bruce Huff and Celeste Malloy, more pulling that conservative or more rural area voter. And so, will the large counties that are very populated swing towards Becky, but then will the urban vote make it up? So kind of all these dynamics we're going to watch as these returns come in here probably in the next 10 minutes.
So, Lindsay, do you have a sense, has candidate Edwards said there's a number she's looking for? Like if she sees a voter turnout return in Salt Lake City at this number, or Salt Lake County, she's feeling good? Are those kind of numbers being talked about?
Yeah, I haven't asked her directly. I haven't gotten a chance to speak with her yet, but that is the first question I literally asked her campaign staff as I walked in the building. I said, what will make you happy tonight? Like, what will make you cheer? And they just don't know. Honestly, they didn't really have a number in mind, but I think it stands to reason that Becky needs to pull some really strong percentages in Salt Lake County in particular to make up for what I was just talking about, that rural vote that's going to come in from some of the less populated but more conservative counties. And so the majority of the voters in the second congressional district, I should say the majority of these Republicans that are voting in this election live in 3 counties, Salt Lake, Washington, and Davis. So we know that the most people are in those 3 counties, but the most land is probably in the other 10 counties, and the other 10 counties make up less than half of the rest of the vote. So it really is going to be, it remains to be seen what's going to happen here. And again, we keep saying this all day, but it really does come down to turnout and which, not only how many turn out, but which subset of voters turn out.
And so, Lindsay, the numbers you were reporting on X showed that the county with the highest turnout so far is Davis. So at 38%. If that's the case, then the Edwards campaign is probably feeling very good about those numbers, right?
Right, but I'm going to actually correct myself there because I didn't have the lieutenant governor's latest numbers when I tweeted those out. So as of 4 o'clock, the county with the highest turnout was Paiute at 44%. Davis County did have 43.6%, so they're not far behind. They're in a very close 1, 2, 3, 4th place. There's a few other rural counties in there. So these rural counties, Paiute, Garfield, Wayne, those are the top 3 counties reporting turnout at 44%. And then Davis County at 33%. You've got another rural county in Beaver coming in after that, then Kane and Millard, Sevier, followed by Salt Lake. So these populous counties like Salt Lake, they're seeing a little bit less turnout than a lot of these rural counties. So the question will just be, are there enough rural voters here to swing this election one way?
So, Lindsay, let's talk for a second about the counting itself. The polls close in 3 minutes, and you've been talking to many clerks getting their updates throughout the night. One of the things I think we've all had to get used to is we have more options to vote, so it takes longer to count. We don't necessarily know on election night. What are you hearing in terms of how complete the counting will be tonight, or are you hearing anything?
Yeah, so what's going to happen is the returns, the big dump that comes just after 8 o'clock in the next 5 minutes here, or 10 minutes perhaps, will be all of the ballots that were turned in up until probably yesterday. And that's because it takes time to process them, right? It takes time to extrapolate them from the envelope and verify the signature and cure any ballots we need to. And that's what we call processing the ballots. Then they're all tabulated in a machine, and those results get aggregated and sent up to the state elections office, who reports them. So this election is really coming in from the counties. It's the state who just, aggregates the data. And so out of Salt Lake County, I do know that Salt Lake County Clerk Lana Chapman is planning on 3 ballot dumps tonight. So you'll get a big one right after 8 o'clock. And then her vote centers all have to close, right? Well, all of the vote centers have to close. And the ballots literally or the thumb drives with the results on them get escorted back to the county vote center by police. In fact, I was walking out of Salt Lake County Government Center, and there was probably 6 dozen police officers just gathered in the lobby of the Salt Lake County Government Center, because they are the ones who, under lock and key and in pairs, transport the results from the ballot centers back to the counties, or rather to the county vote center. So it's a whole process that has to happen. And yes, we'll get the returns on the ballots that have been counted or processed thus far right at 8 o'clock. That will be a large chunk, but where turnout was so low going into today, we still have a large chunk of ballots that won't be processed tonight, because any ballots turned in today, unless you voted in person, aren't necessarily counted today.
Fantastic. All right, thank you. That is KSL reporter Lindsay Ertz reporting live from the Becky Edwards campaign. Thank you, Lindsay, for joining us.
You bet, guys. Keep up the good work.
All right, so this is Derek Brown, Mara Carabello, and Liam Murray. We are broadcasting live right now on Election Day. And stay with us. At the beginning of the next hour, we are likely to have some initial numbers for the first time this Election Day. So don't go anywhere. Stay with us.
KSL FM Midvale, KSL Salt Lake City, KSL News Radio, your all-day companion for news.
It is 8 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Mark Jackson. KSL's top story is politics on KSL News Radio Election Day. The polls have just closed statewide as voters choose candidates on Election Day, most notably to replace outgoing Congressman Chris Stewart in the 2nd Congressional District.
With 3 candidates in this race, the winner needs a little over 30% to pull this off. Turnout right now sitting at about 33% district-wide. The county with the highest turnout is Paiute. The lowest county is Juab.
KSL News Radio's Lindsay Aird's keeping us up to date. And Derek Brown, co-host of KSL at Night, told Dave Dujanovic he thinks early vote counts, once released, will tell a lot about today's Republican primary to replace Congressman Chris Stewart.
It may be a photo finish. It keeps going each different way, but the reality is you've got a lot of turnout in Davis County. That certainly benefits, that benefits Becky Edwards, and I think a high turnout in that southern Utah area where you have Washington and Iron County certainly benefits Malloy.
Complete coverage of tonight's election returns continues next on KSL News Radio. And our top national story, we saw a big jump in temperatures today here along the Wasatch Front, as did others across the country from Texas to New York. And in fact, it could be the hottest week so far this year in New York City. Philadelphia closed some schools early today as well.
Several folks had their hottest Labor Day on record and then hottest September temperature on record, like Marquette, Michigan, who hit 95, but just in a couple of days, they'll be 55. A powerful cold front is going to break up these heat advisories right through Minnesota now, but South Dakota saw temperatures drop 20 degrees in just 3 hours.
It's ABC's chief meteorologist, Ginger Z. Coming up, getting you right back to election night coverage after a look at traffic and weather together, and we'll check that next. KSL News Time 8:01.
They say good things come to those who wait, but we both know the truth. If you want the good things in life, you've got to go out and get them. So if you've been dreaming of a Cadillac, don't wait. Head to Jerry Seiner Cadillac and get one for yourself. With their award-winning XT4, 5, and 6 models available on-site and the area's top selection of certified pre-owned Cadillacs, there's no need to wait to drive in luxury. Stop dreaming, start driving. Visit Jerry Seiner and experience the Seiner difference.
Meet Mary. Mary has a rewards checking account with You First Credit Union. By using her You First Rewards debit card, Mary collects points every month and can use them for things like gifts and cash back. With You First, Mary is happy because her everyday purchases always add up to extraordinary rewards. You can earn rewards too. Learn more about You First Rewards checking at youfirstcu.com. That's the letter U, FIRSTCU.com.
Every business deserves a great deal. That's why, for a limited time, we're launching the Mobile Made Free event. With Comcast Business Internet, new and existing customers can find out how to get one line of unlimited mobile free for a year. Yep, you heard that right. An entire year, free. It's our best internet, powered by the next generation 10G network and with 99.9% reliability, paired with the flexibility to bring your own mobile device for no extra cost. Plus, you can save even more on additional lines for anyone in your business who needs one. And a whole year of savings. Well, that adds up. Business-ready mobile service for free. Every day of every month for a whole year. Don't wait. The Mobile Made Free event is happening now. Comcast Business. Powering possibilities.
Ends September 21st, 2023. Restrictions apply. Mobile offer requires 100 megabits per second internet package and new unlimited intro mobile service. Other restrictions apply.
Your truck is more than what just gets you from A to B. It's your transport to your next adventure, your next experience, your next memory. For 50 years, our passion has been to design, innovate, and deliver made-in-America accessories to outfit your truck for your life. ARE. Truck caps, covers, and accessories.
Get ARE products and caps at Jordan Camper, 7000 South State in Midville, to outfit your truck customized to your needs. We also carry the top brands of truck bed tonneau covers. Whether you want a one-piece, fold back, or retractable, from X-Tang, Truxedo, or Backflip, to name a few. The experts at Jordan Camper, 7000 South State in Midville, will install it for you. Give us a call, 801-255-1512. Information at jordancamper.com.
Early mornings can be hard enough, just getting yourself going.
We try to make it a little easier with news and weather from comfortable, trusted anchors and reporters.
Join us on Utah's Morning News between 5 and 9
on KSL News Radio.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Granite Credit Union's new Dividend Plus checking account. Well, the traffic looks pretty good in the valley up in Davis and Weber County, and finally all that mess is cleared in Utah County, and everything looks pretty good right now. Need help managing your network? Pros at Les Olson IT are at your service. Partnering with Les Olson IT is easy, plus it's a smart business move. Learn more at lesolson.com. Valley weather. Well, strong thunderstorms have the potential to work their way through southwestern Weber, eastern Box Elder, northwestern Davis, and north central Tooele counties tonight. A special weather statement has just been suspended. For the rest of us, we are going to go down into the 60s. The weather should be pretty dry. At the moment, it looks like we have 73 degrees. Partly cloudy skies. Downtown at 8:05 at KSL News Radio. 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and KSLNewsRadio.com. Your all-day companion for news.
KSL at Night. Some of Utah's top political specialists join a roundtable on the day's biggest stories. KSL is at 102.7 FM and on every smart speaker when you say play KSL News Radio.
Welcome back to KSL at Night. We are live tonight. It is election night, and you heard the breaking news sound because we being Mara Carabello, Leah Murray, and Derek Brown, covering all 360 of tonight's election, and we have for you the first numbers of the night. These are less than 30 seconds old, and so, it's the first, not the last numbers, but Derek, tell us where we are.
Well, so these are the numbers statewide that we have. As Mara said, they're just very preliminary because they come in certain geographic areas. But as of right now, we have Becky Edwards with almost 53%, Bruce Huff with 23.6%, and Celeste Malloy with 23.6%. So what that breaks out is almost 9,500 votes for Becky Edwards, and Bruce Huff and Celeste Malloy each have, well, ironically, they're separated by one vote.
I
Bruce,
love that.
Isn't that amazing? Bruce has 4,245. Celeste has 4,244. Now, that being said, of the roughly 18,000 ballots that are now in, around 13,000 of them are from Salt Lake County.
Yeah, and just to give some perspective, this is Mara's math on her phone. So if you took all the qualified voters, let's say are roughly 200,000, that represents about 0.7% of us. Maybe let's even round it up to 1%. So for those of you who are listening, this is a significant first dump, but it does represent about 1% of total voters. Remember, we're expecting voter turnout at least in the 40s. But it starts to give you a snapshot. We just got a refresh on that. Those numbers are now 51% for Becky Edwards, 26%, 26.7%. So we'll say 27% for Celeste Malloy. Bruce Huff now has dropped to third at 22%. So we see Celeste Malloy gaining on that last batch, gaining almost 1,500 votes. I'm going to use that as a segue to say we have the final candidate of the night. We're very pleased to have talked to all three candidates in this hot congressional race, Congressional District 2. And so we're very appreciative and excited to talk to Celeste Malloy. Celeste, thanks for joining us on KSL at Night.
Hey, thanks for inviting me.
So what a day. This is the hottest race in town. And I know you're 8 minutes past the finish line, but I'm sure you went right up until the last moment. What's today been like for you, and what's the whole campaign been like?
Well, the whole campaign's been really fast. I keep saying that. Everybody's probably tired of hearing it, but it's true. I found out the day after Memorial Day that Chris Stewart was resigning, and this is the day after Labor Day. So it's been the summer.
Yeah, this has been your summer, right?
Yeah, it's been a long, sweaty, hot summer. I've worked hard. I feel really good about the campaign I've run. And in the last 8 minutes, I've already gained ground. So
That's
seems
right.
like things are going really well.
All right, Celeste, can you tell us, I love that. That was your summer. I just love how you said that. Memorial Day to Labor Day. Can you talk to us about what your takeaways from that campaign has been? Like, what are the big, kind of shining moments that stand out for you?
Well, as you all know, I did 11 debates in 11 different locations, and that's been the highlight, I think. It's something that voters responded really well to. I think it's something we haven't had enough of, and I hope it sets a new standard for how campaigns are going to be run. It shows my commitment to representing the district as a whole. I've been saying that since the beginning, and I've proven it by showing up everywhere and talking to everybody, and they've been really appreciative.
Fantastic. And then it looks like, as you mentioned, you gained ground in the last 8 minutes. So first of all, it's 8:10, which means that there's absolutely nothing you can do at this point, right? Does that feel good? Is there some relief to that?
It is kind of liberating. I've worked hard 6 days a week, every week of this campaign, and it feels a little strange that I don't have anyone on my call list at the moment except KSL News Radio. But I feel proud of the work I've done. I've used every hour that I could possibly use. I run a clean campaign. I feel really good about it, and I'm excited to see the results tonight.
So this is a little too early for this question, but I'm going to ask it anyway.
Okay.
So, would you, after experiencing this or being in the middle of it, actually, would you tell other people to run? Was it fun? Was it just exhausting?
Wow. It is too early for that question. I probably need a good night's sleep before I can give a really good answer to that.
Okay.
I've been involved in politics for a while. I've never been the candidate, and it's been very different than I would have guessed. In some ways, it's been really amazing. It's tough to put yourself in the public eye. There are definitely people who will come swing at you as soon as you're in the public eye, but there are people who show up in amazing ways. And I've seen an absolutely amazing volunteer spirit, and I've seen voters who show up and ask good questions and really engage. And I've been really impressed overall with the process.
So, Celeste, I just have a numbers question for you. Do you have a sense, and maybe you don't want to share it, but if we're all watching these numbers coming in and we're looking at voter turnouts in the different counties, do you have a sense of like, if I see these numbers in these counties, I'm feeling good, or I'm feeling like, oh no, do you know anything yet? Are there like benchmarks you're looking for?
I don't have benchmarks. I don't have numbers I can give you.
Yeah.
But I've worked really hard to get voter engagement in the rural counties. I think the rural counties usually feel like it doesn't matter what they do because the three big counties in this district are going to swing the vote. And I'm excited to see that as of 4 p.m. today, the three counties with the highest percent of turnout are Wayne, Paiute, and Garfield. That's a win all by itself.
That's true. Celeste Malloy, candidate for the Congressional 2nd District. We so appreciate you joining us tonight and being willing to throw your hat in the ring. And thanks for the work you did, and good luck.
Thank you.
So that was great. We had all three candidates tonight. I think that's terrific. You can start to see, Derek said at the top of the news, he said they're all kind of very distinct. I mean, all of them Republicans, but definite different personalities, staking out slightly different territory. Derek, did it make the decision any easier for people, or no?
That's such a good question, and I think time will tell whether that's the case. But they all sort of took a different approach. I mean, Becky Edwards was, she didn't really spend much time going to the debates. She spent a lot of money on advertising. She had her own events, and I think she focused on a certain group of the Republican Party. And then you had Celeste, who we just spoke with. She hit every local sort of rural, parade and event out there. I saw her on the 4th of July in Panguitch, Utah, and I think she was just down in Peach Days. So she kind of, Becky didn't sort of take that approach. She took the county-by-county approach. And then Bruce, interestingly, I think, took a hybrid. I think what he did is he said both of those approaches have merit. I'm going to just sort of steal from both of them and take the best of both and see, what happens. But anyway, it's interesting because as of right now, the most recent numbers show Becky at about 51%, Celeste at about 27%, and Bruce at 22%.
Right, but I loved what she said, right? She invested, if you will, her time in those rural counties, and the highest turnout are those counties. So to me, that's a huge win because it shows that campaigns matter. Does that make sense? Voters do want people to pay attention to them, and then they will feed back, right? Like they will actually show up.
So, okay, yeah, I agree with you. I'm going to be a little bit of a downer, though. We don't know if it's turned out unless they match against performance. So none of the counties yet have reached the low 40s. And until they reach the low 40s, right? I mean, did Paiute, I think they're at 41.
Yeah, I thought Lindsay said 44%
yeah.
Low
for
40s,
Paiute.
yeah.
So they're right at average right now. Come on, the polls are closed, so we can't influence, but we need to see them higher. So next, stay tuned with us because Derek and Leah and I are going to take a deep dive on both strategy, what we're seeing in the numbers, and the different kind of tactics that may or may not pay off. We are live again on election night, so stay tuned on KSL.
Tomorrow morning, come back here for news, traffic updates, and reliable weather.
Join us to have a listen. Tim and Amanda.
Your morning companions for news.
Before you head to work, before you hit the gym,
Keep going, that's it.
before you make your way home,
Bye.
get a quick check on traffic and weather.
PD on the scene at 8 South and West Temple.
Highway 89 also really backed up. Listen every 10 minutes on the 9s, in your car at 102.7 FM, or tell Alexa, play KSL News Radio.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
The Utah RV Super Show, the premier RV event of the year, is back at Mountain America Expo, Thursday, September 14th through Sunday, September 17th. Come see the new 2024 models and special closeout pricing on all 2023 models. Bring a can of food for the Utah Food Bank and get $1 off per can, up to half off adult admission. Unplug from distractions and plug into your family at the Utah RV Super Show. Discount passes at UtahRVSupershow.com.
At Fisher Investments, we do things differently, and other money managers don't understand why.
Because our way works great for us.
But it may not work for your clients. That's why Fisher Investments is a fiduciary, obligated to put clients first. It's the highest standard for a financial advisor.
So, what do you provide? Cookie-cutter portfolios like the rest of us?
No cookie-cutter portfolios here. Fisher Investments tailors portfolios to meet each client's goals and needs.
But you do sell investments that earn you high commissions, right? And make commissions when you make trades for your clients?
No, Fisher Investments doesn't sell any commission investment products, and we never earn commissions on trades.
So what's in it for you?
Fisher Investments fees are structured so we do better when our clients do better. When it comes to helping clients achieve a comfortable retirement, we're clearly different. Visit FisherInvestments.com to find out why investors like you switch to us. Fisher Investments, clearly different money management.
Investments in securities involve the risk of loss.
Attention smart homeowners. You don't have to fall for flashy promises and companies that don't even prove their work. At Your Service Pros uses third-party verification software called MeasureQuick to ensure your new HVAC system is installed correctly. This ultimate game changer in the HVAC industry lets you, the homeowner, have proof of how your system was installed. At Your Service Pros utilizes our Bluetooth tools to upload all of your system's information into MeasureQuick. We rely on data-driven insights to properly commission, optimize, and fine-tune your HVAC system for peak performance, improving your family's comfort, lowering your utility bills, and extending the life of your HVAC system. With rebates and tax credits available totaling more than $7,500 on a dual fuel heating and cooling system, it is now more important than ever that your HVAC system be installed correctly. So call us today at 801-YOUR-PRO. That's 801-YOUR-PRO. Have the peace of mind of saving up to 50% on your new system and knowing it's installed correctly by calling 801-YOUR-PRO.
Visit Serenoni Luxury Blanket Warehouse Sale, Wednesday, September 6th at Orion Event Center in Linden. Save on the world's softest blankets for babies to adults. Get huge discounts on the best gifts ever.
Social Security is with you through life's journey from birth to retirement. As your life changes year to year, so do your needs. For over 80 years, Social Security has helped to meet your needs and is committed to improving access to the services that make a difference in your life. Today, You can verify your earnings, estimate your future benefits, apply for retirement, manage your benefits, and even change your address, all from the comfort of your home. Social Security's online services help put you in control with secure access to your information anytime, anywhere, allowing you to spend more time with family, friends, or simply just enjoying the day. Social Security, securing today and tomorrow. See what you can do online at socialsecurity.gov.
Produced at U.S. taxpayer expense.
KSL at night.
All right, welcome back to KSL at Night. You're here with me, Leah Murray, alongside my good friends Mara Carabello and Derek Brown, and I am just going to harass them a little bit. I think it's what I'm going to do in this segment. Derek Brown, looking at numbers, seeing which counties are coming in. This is our own, we're just going to play a numbers game. We've got Davis County is in, Salt Lake County's in, Tooele County's in. We're waiting on other counties, and I know that we heard from candidate Malloy, she's hoping those rural counties, we know turnout, but we don't know results, right? So she's hoping 44% in Paiute, and they all voted for her, right? She's looking for that to be 100% for her. Can you, when you're looking at these numbers and what we're seeing, what do you see? What can you look in your crystal ball and see what you see?
The reality is that is Malloy's strategy, right? She's from Washington County or Iron County. She lived in Washington County. She lived in Beaver County. I mean, so her strategy clearly was to focus on those areas and hope that her numbers or her percentages were high enough that they make all the difference. The reality is the number of voters in those counties don't equal what we have in the northern area, right? And so that's the question is, it's a numbers game now. I mean, and did that strategy pay off? And I don't know. At this point, we've got numbers from Davis County, Salt Lake, and Tooele.
And you're feeling like there's not enough evidence in yet for you to make a claim whether it works. Gotcha.
Not yet. I mean, but it's a good strategy. But if I were advising her, I just ultimately having a high percentage of turnout in some of the smaller, more rural counties. I mean, that's helpful. But when it comes right down to it, this is a numbers game.
Yeah,
tell us what you think.
We've talked about that all night, that turnout matters. I mean, this is one of the biggest misnomers, I think, with individual voters is I think that a lot of Utahns, if you look at polling, they say, I don't know if it matters if I vote. What we know, the more you participate in politics, the more you know that individuals matter. I'm going to give you some anecdotes. I mean, when I was doing a lot of campaigns, I did a series of elections, and Leah, you'll appreciate this as a professor. When we did some distributions at the time of those congressional districts, almost every congressional district at the time could be swayed by a university having an overly done turnout, assuming all the students registered in that district where they were living, that every university could control who the congressional member was if they just turned out. We've seen before, you talk to Democrats on paper, absolutely, with the amount of unaffiliated voters, if they could get those people out, they could win the race. It's anybody's race when you're looking at it statistically. But the big trick is who shows up that day. We've been talking all night. It's going to be in the low 40s. And you do have a challenge if you're not the candidate getting the population bases. So again, 18% of what is the question, or 20 or 30 or 40% of what? The other thing that this sets up, if we just sort of preview tomorrow's news, is right now we have a race that shows 51, 26, 23. Now, the three of us may argue that 51, if these were the finishing results, may be a big enough lead to have it settle. We've talked a little offline. What if likely it tightens and it's 30-something, 30-something, 30-something?
Which is entirely possible. And the reality is I still have PTSD from serving as a party chair in 2020, where the congressional race was decided literally, I think it was 15 days after the election, because it came down to, Mara, that kind of photo finish where, where are the results coming in from, what counties, geographically, that makes a difference. But it was so close that we literally, it wasn't until the day before in fact, it was the very last night the votes were counted that switched it and ended the entire congressional district. So, could that happen here? Probably not, but you never know.
All right, so Derek, tell me, because you're the expert at where the Republican voters are. So if I'm looking at the numbers that are in, knowing that these ballot dumps are as a result of people who voted before today, does that make sense? That they've been counted. Can you tell us how many Republicans are left out there? Do you have a sense of there's, like 200 and some odd thousand people in this district, and given what I'm seeing here, this is who's left to go find?
Well, right now, if you look at the total numbers, we've got something in the neighborhood of about 31,000 that are in total. And so when we're looking at several 100,000, based on what we've seen in the past, the reality is this could be, let's do some quick math, 6, 7, 8% of the total. So we're just estimating based on that.
So interestingly enough, the ballots we're seeing come from the most densely populated but the lowest performing Republican relative to, let's say, an Iron County or Washington County. So those rural districts have a higher percentage of registered Republicans, but remember that percentage is a raw number that's lower. We've seen dumps from highly dense counties that would be performing, to your question of Republicans. They wouldn't have as many registered Republicans in those districts. They would have more, unaffiliated voters who lean that way.
And in those counties, particularly Davis and Salt Lake, we would expect, not knowing what these numbers are, we would just expect that Becky Edwards would be doing better.
That's right.
And in fact, that's what the numbers bear out. So we have Davis and Salt Lake with numbers. We have Tooele now, and I would expect that Becky Edwards would not be doing as well in a little more rural area like Tooele. And if you look at the numbers, that's exactly what's happening. We have Celeste Malloy with 1,755 votes, Bruce Huff with 1,724, and then Becky Edwards with 1,576.
So with that, I'm going to bring a little bit of the conversation we're going to, I'm sure, be talking about through, and that's so Republican primary. Everyone's a registered Republican. But let's talk about we've talked about the lane. Let's talk about the ideological lane they've marked out. So Becky Edwards would consider herself, I think, a moderate mainstream. She often says traditional Republican. Celeste Malloy sort of would be running to the right of that. And many of us perceived Bruce Huff as sort of even running maybe to the right of that. But I would say Celeste and Bruce both asserted a more fundamental or, a further right test of being a Republican or not. So here's what's interesting. Celeste Malloy comes out of convention, and I'm looking at the former chair of the Republican Party when I say this. So she's the Republican choice, and the Republicans made a very strong party assertion that, hey, it's our party. They don't love the signature option. They want it to be decided among delegates, and so Celeste Malloy is the party's nominee, and Derek, what happens if she finishes second or third? Does that say anything about the party's nominee, or is it just an individual race and it doesn't impact?
And then also answer, what does the party do in that situation? I'm wondering, what does the state party do? They then just endorse fully and get behind?
Well, that's the easier question, is they do endorse whoever it is that wins the primary. That's what you do. If there's one Republican in the race, then you'll see the Republican Party endorse that candidate. But it is, and this is, I think we can talk more about this in the next segment because Mara brings up a really good point. But one of the things we didn't see right off the bat is a lot of the folks who are sort of the diehard, caucus convention supporters, you would have thought, even though Celeste may not have been their candidate, that they would have said, well, she's the candidate. She won the process fair and square. Let's get behind her. And interestingly, we didn't see that.
Okay, so I just wanted to say we just had another, my page refreshed, and Paiute County came in with 40 for Becky Edwards, 70 for Bruce Huff, and 343 for Celeste Malloy. So you tell me, all the Republicans in Paiute County, how many more Republicans are left there?
I think that's probably it.
That's it? Okay, so we won't be getting a new numbers. Okay,
that's about, 450? So out of 450, Celeste has gotten 343.
So she delivered, but maybe not enough, right?
Well, the question is,
yeah.
can she get those kind of numbers down in Washington County and Iron County? I mean, that's really the question. I mean, I think she can statistically do it, but she can't get 50, 60%. She's got to get 70, 80% down there.
Right, so we're just watching for those next counties to roll in. All right, stay with us, and after the break, we'll come back and keep talking all things elections.
It is coming up on 8:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Mark Jackson. KSL's top story, of course, it's politics on KSL News Radio. As of 8:30 tonight, Becky Edwards is taking the lead in the popular vote, Congressional District 2, Republican race to replace Chris Stewart. She right now, in the new numbers just dropped, is up 50.52%. And then Celeste Malloy is in second place, 27.36%. Bruce Huff trails 22.13%. Stay with KSL News Radio for updates. Well, the Democrats have a special election of their own tonight in a crowded primary for Rhode Island's 1st Congressional District. Former White House aide Gabe Amo came out on top, beating a slew of fellow candidates to move on to the general election in the heavily Democratic state. Amo hopes to succeed former Democratic Representative David Cicilline, who stepped down earlier this summer. Other top national stories we're following tonight. President Joe Biden is facing a little criticism for taking his mask off and leaning in to give 81-year-old war hero Captain Larry Taylor of Tennessee the Medal of Honor just a day after being with COVID-positive wife Jill Biden. Then video shows him leaving the ceremony, according to the Daily Mail, before it was over. Biden remains negative for COVID and says First Lady Jill Biden was doing well, but critics pointed out that Biden had been potentially exposed to the virus. And another big story for today, the attorney for Lori Vallow Daybell has filed an appeal asking the Idaho Supreme Court to examine her guilty verdict and sentence. She was ordered to prison without parole in July for the murder of her two youngest children, 7-year-old Joshua Vallow, 16-year-old Tylee Ryan. Attorney Jim Archibald cited 16 issues involved in the case and asked the state to appoint appellate public defenders to take over the appeal. Coming up, we don't have any complaints about weather. It's been dry. Traffic finally is clear. We're going to check the forecast and the traffic situation for you anyway next. KSL News Time, 8:31.
I'm Ty Burrell, actor and small business owner. I'm going to show you my steps for making the perfect radio ad. This one's about innovation refunds and the ERC. First step, be relatable. I like pizza and puppies. 2, cold hard info. The ERC is a tax credit for eligible businesses that kept employees on payroll in 2020 and 2021. So if you qualify, Innovation Refunds Network of Independent Tax Attorneys could help you claim it. 3, go to innovationrefunds.com or call 1-843-REFUNDS.
Innovation Refunds does not provide tax or legal advice. We work with an independent network of tax professionals. Terms and conditions apply. Ty is a paid spokesman.
3 little words no parent wants to hear.
My tummy hurts.
And it always seems to happen at the worst times. Like in the middle of the morning rush, when you still have homework to check and lunches to pack, and of course, you're already late for work. Luckily, there's Pepto Kids. New Pepto Kids gummies helps relieve occasional stomach upsets, turning those 3 words into these 3 words.
I feel better.
Bad time for stomach upsets? Good time for new Pepto Kids gummies. Fast support for little tummies.
These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Here's a question. Do you wear dentures? At Grandpa's Dental, you can trade in your floppy dentures and get $2,000 towards an implant-supported solution. You know, they say the older you get, the more you need your teeth. Well, chewing your food isn't a luxury. And taking a bite out of a nice, juicy steak, well, it takes teeth. At Grandpa's Dental, they have over 10,000 restorations under their belt, and it's always affordable. When you walk into one of their 3 locations, you're family, period. At Grandpa's Dental, they live their family legacy by building lasting relationships through state-of-the-art services. So if you want to stop the flop and actually eat foods you can chew, trade in your dentures at Grandpa's Dental for $2,000 towards your implant solution. Schedule your free consultation at grandpasdental.com today. That's grandpasdental.com.
I'm Shanola Hampton. Every day, millions of people face hunger. Today, I will share with you some of their experiences. I'm stuck between paying for medications or paying for food. John from Maine. After paying my bills, I can buy groceries. It's sad to say, food comes last. Alice from Oregon. I thought pantries were for less fortunate people, but anybody could be less fortunate in a day or even a second. Claire from Virginia. The Feeding America network of food banks helps provide over 6 billion meals to people in need each year. No one should have to worry where their next meal will come from. Together, we can end hunger. Learn more at feedingamerica.org.
Spend some time with the ones you love in one of the most unique dining experiences in Utah. Five All's Restaurant has 5 stars, 5 courses, and is a step back in time.
What do you need to hear in the morning to feel ready for the day?
Important news that happened overnight, the traffic you'll hit on the roads.
You'll be ready for your day with us.
Join Utah's Morning News 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Granite Credit Union's new Dividend Plus checking account. Checking our sensor boards. Don't see any major delays down in Utah County, the Valley, or up in Davidson-Weaver County. And weather has been cooperating. So we had a few storms blow through some of the outer areas, including parts of Tooele County and Weber County, but I don't see any major traffic problems. As a result, experience over 80 original art pieces from prominent local and emerging artists amid a backdrop of natural beauty. Art at the Park, September 8th and 9th at This Is the Place Heritage Park. Valley weather, the weather's been pretty nice most places. We are headed back to the 60s tonight, up to 85 tomorrow. But then, wow, we get a real spike in the temperatures. Friday, we're near 90, upper 80s for the rest of the week. And then looks like we start the week mid-80s on Monday in the sunshine. Right now, we're partly cloudy, 72 at 8:36 at KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, KSLNewsRadio.com. Your all-day companion for news.
KSL at Night.
Welcome back to KSL at Night. This is Derek Brown with my friends and co-hosts for the night, Leah Murray, Mara Carabello, and we're covering Election Day live. And obviously the big ticket race that we're covering is the 2nd Congressional District, where the current total votes are Becky Edwards at just over 18,000, Bruce Huff at 7,887, and Celeste Malloy at just under 10,000. So that's one of the big ones. But we're also looking at some of the smaller races. I mean, for instance, in my neck of the woods, Cottonwood Heights, we have Sharon Durrell with 41%, Suzanne Highland at 30%, and Scott Bracken at 28%. And it's a difference of 36 votes. So that's one of the smaller municipal races that matters. I mean, matters to my area. But Leah, you've obviously got a race up in Weber. She cares quite a bit, as she has reminded us, Mara, tonight,
right,
about Ogden. So tell us what's going on in Ogden.
Yeah, so just so our listeners know, Salt Lake City's got a pretty hot mayoral race, but you're not going to talk about it till November 21st because they're doing ranked choice voting. Ogden City's got a pretty hot mayoral race, and they're talking about it tonight because they use the more traditional route to a primary. So we've got 7 candidates running, and the first dump, just like everything we've talked about, although I don't have the same data that we have for Congressional District 2, right, because they don't have it by precinct, right, we don't know. But what I know is that Taylor Knuth and Ben Nadolski and Bart Blair are up kind of at the top. Those 3 candidates up at the top. Angel Castillo and John Greiner, about 100, in the next 100 block of votes, if that makes sense. I don't have percentages, and I didn't do the math real quick in my head, Derek, so I just have numbers. But just to give you an idea.
You're a social scientist, right?
I can do math, but maybe not that fast. So basically, we've got Taylor Knuth, Ben Nadolski. These are all people we've had on our show on KSL at Night chatting with these mayoral candidates. And so there's just some information out of that race as well.
So it looks like the voter turnout in Weber is in the high 20s. Does that sound right? So more is probably expected to come in.
Yeah, it's like 23% right now. They've got 7,466 ballots to cast. But I'll just tell you what, I handed my ballot in today. So my ballot's not in this number. And I know a lot of people we've been seeing putting their ballots in today. So I expect you're exactly right. That number should go up.
And I want to talk about that because I still haven't adjusted to back in the day. You used to know pretty well election results that night. And I still feel this gut reflex that like a good, I'm using air quotes there, a good election, I know my results. I'm going to say, pshaw to that because one of the reasons it's delayed is that we have more time to cast our ballots. We have more ways, if you will. We can mail them in. We can walk them in. We can put them in receptacles. So I my impulse control hates that on election night we don't know, but I do love that we are running elections that are safe and secure. We don't know on election night because we can vote really late and it can still get processed. So we won't know for a few days.
And for someone who ran a party like I did, that was the bane of my existence.
Yes.
I mean, I will never forget going to bed on the election night of 2020, and there were 5 different state house races that I was pretty convinced we lost based on the numbers. And over the course of the next week and a half, 4 of them switched. And we actually, as a party, we won one of those, lost the other one. But it was just a slow, gradual, day by day sort of grind.
And the answer is they're not official until it's 2 weeks out anyway.
Well, that's the official
So,
canvas. But even the first completed balloting now is traditionally a couple days later. I mean, we would remember that I would stay up and the elections office would hire dozens of people and they would stay and count until it was over. And I remember I was still trying to adjust when, I want to say 2 cycles to 4 years ago. Work-life balance. The elections office, they do stay late. They work really hard, but they don't stay until 2 in the morning anymore. They're probably mostly gone, not because they don't care, but they'll be back first thing in the morning, continuing to process and count. So there's no longer one election day. We said that at the top. If you're a candidate, you've got to start and communicate and talk to voters almost, 3 weeks ahead. You've got to talk to them until the 8 p.m. hour when the ballot closes. And then we've all got to adjust and know that it's going to be a day or two before we get what is the preliminary but completed count. And then they'll do what is a canvas, which is, too simply said, a double check.
Right, and I guess I'm going to just be fair, right? I am someone who's always watched these things, never with a dog in the race. Does that make sense? So I was never going to sleep really with my stomach hurting because some candidate I had run. But I'm just going to tell you what, like in the year 2000, we didn't know the result of that presidential election for a while. So I guess I want to say this, a little bit not that new. Does that matter? I mean, it is the case that even back in the day when we did all voting on the same day, that we have had elections in our country where we didn't know the answer for like a minute, right? Because you're still counting all those ballots and making sure that everyone's vote, is accurately counted. And
one of the things that a lot of people don't know that parties are very involved in is after election day for the next couple of weeks, as they count these ballots, if for some reason the signature doesn't match or there's a problem, then you have an opportunity to go and sort of perfect the ballot, so to speak, right? And the parties will know who those ballots are, and they'll know who it is where something's wrong. And so what you can do is you can then reach out to the individual and say, hey, did you know your ballot isn't being counted for the following reason? And then you help them to make sure that their ballot is counted. And so, I mean, that's one of the things parties spend the next, 2 weeks up until canvassing day doing. So, I mean, the reality is it used to be, I still, like you, Mara, I love the idea of election day, and then you count the ballots, and that night you go to sleep and you feel great. But the reality is those days are over. There's no such thing as election day. There's election month. And then when election day, so to speak, is over, there's still 1 to 2 weeks
work to be done
where there's still ballot counting and processing and fixing and correcting up until canvassing day. So it's like a 6 to 7 week process.
But when done correctly, it's in the service of the voter having options and having a secure ballot, but also making sure that it's safe, which is the part you're talking about where the parties. It is fun if you if you're looking for a job, you can sign up with either of your parties and be a part of this process if you want. They're always looking for volunteers to help with oversight, to help monitor and watch. And this is all very specifically outlined in the law. I will say it's a part of the law that we're always changing. We're always updating and finding better ways. But it isn't arbitrary, what signatures count or how the process is delivered. It's very much outlined.
Yeah, and I like how you just said that. And I would just add, you don't even have to be a member of a party, right? Like, so to a certain extent, oh my goodness, if you want to learn how this republic works, volunteer at any county clerk's office to be someone. I have sat for hours as one part of the cog, or one cog in the whole mechanism of like taking the thing off the ballot to make it possible, right? And I By the way, never carried a ballot through the whole process because no one ever does that. It was just my job to sit there for hours doing this. And they gave me like donuts, right? It was fabulous.
But it feels really special, right?
And it does. And you feel like here I am keeping this republic, right? Like I'm actually part of what I really think is a great thing.
And I got to tell you, I was amazed at how secure they are. I mean, one of the things, and I'll just be really honest in the last minute I have, is, I was the Republican Party chair, and I had people that would complain about a Democrat clerk in Salt Lake County. And we had these races where a Republican would win by 7 votes or 32 votes. And I think, you know what? I'm sorry, but if there was some sort of, corruption.
Any hijinks.
By a Democrat clerk, a Republican wouldn't win the vote by 7 votes. You know what I'm saying? But to really get into the process and see what they do and see the controls they have, gave me a lot of confidence in the way that it's done. I wish it were faster, but that isn't the case. So, all right, we have one more segment. Stay with us. We're going to be interviewing the chairman of the Utah Republican Party, Robert Axon, right after the break.
Did you know Utah has just one all-news station in the morning?
It's this one. Weekday mornings between 5 and 9.
Start your days with us. We are Tim Hughes and Amanda Dixon.
Your morning companions for news. Join KSL and be part of the movement that's creating a culture that's smart about mental health. Come to the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention's Out of the Darkness Walk. Join us Saturday morning, September 9th at Veterans Memorial Park in West Jordan as we walk to fight suicide. Funds raised support research, education, advocacy in support of those affected by suicide. Together we can save lives. Join us as we walk out of the darkness together.
The Utah RV Super Show, the premier RV event of the year, is back at Mountain America Expo, Thursday, September 14th through Sunday, September 17th. Come see the new 2024 models and special closeout pricing on all 2023 models. Bring a can of food for the Utah Food Bank and get $1 off per can, up to half off adult admission. Unplug from distractions and plug into your family at the Utah RV Super Show. Discount passes at UtahRVSupershow.com.
Attention smart homeowners. You don't have to fall for flashy promises and companies that don't even prove their work. At Your Service Pros uses third-party verification software called MeasureQuick to ensure your new HVAC system is installed correctly. This ultimate game changer in the HVAC industry lets you, the homeowner, have proof of how your system was installed. At Your Service Pros utilizes our Bluetooth tools to upload all of your system's information into MeasureQuick. We rely on data-driven insights to properly commission, optimize, and fine-tune your HVAC system for peak performance, improving your family's comfort, lowering your utility bills, and extending the life of your HVAC system. With rebates and tax credits available totaling more than $7,500 on a dual fuel heating and cooling system, it is now more important than ever that your HVAC system be installed correctly. So call us today at 801-YOUR-PRO. That's 801-YOUR-PRO. Have the peace of mind of saving up to 50% on your new system and knowing it's installed correctly by calling 801-YOUR-PRO.
When you take a walk around your neighborhood and notice all the things that make it feel like home, like all the houses lie neatly together in a row, or your neighbor, Miss Rita, who always waves at you when you drive down the street, or that movie theater in the strip mall that might look a little worn down, but has the best popcorn you've ever tasted. One thing might be a little harder to notice, because somewhere tucked in that neat row of houses is hunger. It could be your next door neighbor, or your coworker, or your daughter's friend from school, because over 30 million Americans don't know where their next meal is coming from. Hunger lives in neighborhoods all around us, but it doesn't have to. At Albertsons Companies and Safeway Foundations, we are on a mission to provide 1 billion meals by 2030, because everyone should be welcome at the table. Learn more at nourishingneighbors.com. Let's break the cycle of hunger together.
Whether you own a local business or a global one, you know that these days, generating growth is a challenge. By teaming with Bank of America, you'll not just stay ahead of the curve, you'll move it. With access to experts, award-winning insights, and business solutions so powerful, you'll make every move matter, locally and globally. Visit bankofamerica.com/banking for business to learn more. What would you like the power to do? Copyright 2023 Bank of America, N.A.
The possibility of lung cancer can be pretty scary, especially if you're one of approximately 8 million current or former smokers at high risk. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know that now there's a breakthrough low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early, and it only takes 60 seconds. You stop smoking, now start screening. For an easy quiz to see if you're eligible, visit SaveByTheScan.org. It could save your life. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
Found your dream house, but not your dream rate? Make your purchase with a home loan from Cyprus Credit Union. Refinance within 12 months if rates drop, and Cyprus Credit Union will take care of the refinancing fees.
Hi, Grandma. Can Nina come over for dinner?
Sure. I've been meaning to ask you, what would happen if someone offered you a drink?
Grandma?
If anyone ever does, I want you to say, no, I have too much respect for my family and I don't want to get in trouble.
I promise, Grandma.
They really do hear you. For tips on what to say, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. That's underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. This message brought to you by SAMHSA and this station.
KSL at night.
Welcome back to KSL at night. What a night it's been. Election night, and we are live. Mara Carabello, Derek Brown, Leah Murray here, breaking it all down for you. I want to remind you that we had, 30-odd elections in our municipalities today. So that's a couple of counties, but mostly mayor and city council races. And so if you haven't yet, go check out and see what the results are showing. It's really fun. I'm going to, really fun. But you're listening to KSL at Night Live, and you can go to electionresults.utah.gov. They refresh it for you every 60 seconds. So, it's like a video game. And you can jump on.
What
and
video
watch,
game gives you your hit
I mean,
after
that kind of
60
impulse control there. And check out what's going on. All night long, though, we've been talking about the second congressional race, which is the hottest race going on today. It is a Republican primary. It had 3 Republican candidates. One, Celeste Malloy, was the party's choice that came out of the convention process. And then Becky Edwards and Bruce Huff came out via the signature gathering efforts. And so we have 3 viable Republicans. We've been watching the results come in. I'm going to go to and see where we are now. Becky Edwards still holds a lead in the low 50s. But remember, the counties who have reported so far are Davis, Paiute, Salt Lake, and Tooele. Becky Edwards has prevailed in all of them except Paiute. Celeste Malloy, it looks at this moment, has about 75% of the vote in Paiute. And again, all of this is in the Republican Party primary. So in studio, joining us tonight is Robert Axsom, the chair of the Utah Republican Party. And I'll tell you what, this special election has been quick. You started out with I swear, 193 candidates. No.
Felt like it, but 9?
9, and winnowed it down. What are the highlights? This has been a compressed, intense, high-profile, not only from just the exposure, but you had some high-profile candidates. What's it been like to be the party chair through this?
I think it's a couple of things. First off, I think it goes to show that Utah does things well. Even when we have curveballs thrown our way, we stay in the batter's box and we try to get some hits out of that. And so the Republican Party has done just that. The second thing, I think it prepares us to be more equipped to handle next year. Next year is going to be an interesting election year, of course, here in the state with the presidential as well.
So, okay, I'm gonna tighten that timeline, because when you say next year, okay, we'll know the primary election results in the next couple of weeks, and so we'll have the Republican candidate. The Democrats have put forth a candidate, Kathleen Reeby, so we'll have a November election just right before Thanksgiving, and then we have someone who says, huzzah, they're a member of Congress until January.
Yep.
When we open it back up, where you now are eligible to throw your hat in the ring for the non-special, the regularly scheduled election, which is November of 2024.
Correct. And so you will have all 4 of Utah's congressional seats will be up, as well as one of our Senate seats. other statewide races, our governor's race, plus there will be that, small little presidential race happening next year.
So just tell us, has anyone already whispered in your ear that they're interested in the second congressional race?
I've been solely focused
2.
on this one, and so
That
I
is a
haven't
great
entertained
answer.
any conversations or thoughts about that. I'm focused on this race tonight.
All right, so Robert, you're sitting next to me, and I've got my iPad open, and we're looking at county data. So I'm just wondering if you could talk to us about, do you know what I mean? Like which counties have come in, which haven't come in, what you need to see. Does that make sense to have a sense that you could call this, even though I know we all feel like it's super unpredictable? But when you're looking at the data, what are you looking for and what are you watching?
Yeah, so key things, obviously you have Salt Lake and Davis counties have come in, a substantial number of their votes have come in already, and so you see what the trends are happening. But a lot of rural Utah, in this district especially, that has a lot of our rural counties, they have yet to really report much, if anything. And so I think there's a lot of drama and maybe even some roller coaster ride of these numbers and these percentages that we're going to see change over the next couple of hours and certainly into the next day or two, because mailed-in ballots could be postmarked up to today.
Okay, one of the questions that Leah was asking earlier, and she likes to kind of poke fun at me as the former chair of the Republican Party. So now this is your chance to poke fun of the current chair.
No, I like him.
Who by the way, is for those of you only for those of you who are tuned in and are actually watching what's going on. You can see Robert here with his beard and his
he's got
the lumberjack flannel, almost like he was from Oregon.
He's rocking a whole different Republican vibe. I love it.
You know, Derek, you're the Republican Party of yesteryear, and there's some young people here in this state that we're going to bring into the fold.
That was a throwdown like 5 minutes before the hour ends.
In Derek's defense, he has on a very sharp jacket and no tie.
It's
so
beautiful.
I'm just
Yeah,
saying, you have no tie.
It's just because I can't grow the beard that Rob can. I mean, Rob grows a not just a 5 o'clock shadow, but like a noon shadow.
Well, and my baby face, you can hide it behind a beard and maybe a couple extra pounds, so it works out
Exactly.
well.
Okay, so here's the question Leah was asking. Who does the Republican Party support based on these results? Because you have some who've collected signatures. One candidate, Celeste, obviously was the convention nominee. So there's 3 candidates, but when this is over, either tomorrow or within, for your sake, hopefully not 2 weeks from now, but that happened to me when I was chair, and I'm still going through some PTSD from that experience. But when it's over, what does the party do?
Yeah, so like you said, our convention nominee was Celeste, and according to our party rules, we were enthusiastically supportive of her, and if she wins, that will be fantastic. The nice thing with the Republican Party here in Utah is we have a deep bench, and so you have 3 candidates who are all Republicans that all have a lot to offer, and whoever wins in this primary, we look forward to getting behind that individual as our nominee to make sure they get past that finish line in the general.
So let's give the numbers one more time. We're a current count, which is, again, just the first batches coming in from about 4 counties. Becky Edwards is at 50.5%. Celeste Malloy is 27.3%, and Bruce Huff is 22.1%. We expect those numbers will keep shifting, but that's sort of the first. Robert, you talked about the distribution and the totals. Do you have in the back of your head a sense of if we looked at an average voter turnout, so somewhere in the low 40s for a special election, what percentage of the 2nd Congressional District would be rural versus urban?
So this is pretty rough, but you have about 50% of the vote in CD2 is outside of Salt Lake, Davis, and Tooele County.
Okay.
And then the other 50% are in those 3 counties. And so you look here at those counties that have come in, and with the exception of Paiute, that's the only rural county. So there's still a lot to be laid out, even in those votes that have already been tallied or will be tallied tonight. So the percentages, again, good for any of those candidates, wherever they're at. If they're in the lead, good for them, but things are going to change still.
Can you talk to us about Washington County, which is one that we don't have any numbers for? And at the top of our show, there was a little bit of discussion in here whether it counts as a rural county or not. So I'm wondering, right, because I feel like there is kind of a big city in Washington. I don't know. So just talk to me about what that looks like.
And it was sort of
county.
a fighting word, too.
Yeah, right.
She,
Hey,
Mara said that.
I was just watching. I want you to know,
true.
Robert. So.
Yeah, no, I would still constitute Washington County is rural, but keep in mind, I have family who walked to get there 100+ years ago, and I have family who lived there for a long time.
This is what I'm saying. I think it is the spirit of the rural. I mean, I tell you, I think that Provo-Orem still thinks they're rural. So
there certainly are some neighborhoods that feel that,
I'm
and
just
orchards
saying,
that used to be there.
But how does that pan out for this election when we've talked about it being rural, being so important for Celeste Malloy? Is the spirit of being rural enough?
What I would tell you, you look even at, for example, and this is somewhat anecdotal, but we've looked into this as the party, and you have a number of people moving from California to Utah for obvious reasons. And that usually comes with the assumption that these are liberal voters coming and that their vote tallies will change the way that people are voting. As it pertains to southern Utah, the average Californian that moving in was more of a refugee from California because of politics, and so they're very conservative. And so even though Washington County is getting a little bit more of this urban feel, I think a substantial number of people who are living down there still vote accordingly. And I'll tell you, I don't also like the assumption that the urban areas are going to stay Democrat. I look forward to, as the Republican Party chair, working with our party to make the case that even people here on the Wasatch Front should enthusiastically join the Republican
That's
Party.
Robert Axsom, supermajority chair of the Utah Republican Party. We appreciate you joining us in studio. Great night, Leah Murray, Derek Brown, Mara Carabello. We have so enjoyed having election night. Special election night. Great results. We're going to keep them coming. They're not going to stop tonight. They're going to start first thing in the morning with KSL News Radio. You'll want to stay tuned for Debbie Dujanovic, as well as our morning show where we'll have fresh new results. Thanks for joining us on Election Night 2023.
KSL FM Midvale, KSL Salt Lake City.
Mom and Dad used to argue about everything, especially about Dad's drinking. It drove me crazy. It got so bad, I couldn't do my homework. I couldn't concentrate. I absolutely refused to let any of my friends come to our house for any reason. I would have been humiliated if anyone found out how much my dad drank and how loud my mom screamed at him. My family went from totally crazy to quiet, calm, and even peaceful. The only thing that happened is my mom started going to Al-Anon family groups. Her relationship with my dad really changed. I asked Mom if she would take me to her Al-Anon meetings or to Alateen.